All right. What's up, everybody? Here I am back at it again with another video. This is another addition to the greatest of all time series. And this one's going to be on the legendary, influential rap group from Compton, California, and South Central Los Angeles, N.W.A, aka Niggas with Attitudes. Okay? If you like this video and you want to see if you like this video, you want to see more like it, comment down below, give me more ideas, see who do you want to see in the greatest of all time series. I do rappers, rap groups, athletes, sports teams, like the 85 Bears or the football or the 2004 Patriots, whoever, basketball, the 96 Bulls, 87 Lakers, the Golden State Warriors of a couple years ago. Whoever you want me to see me do a video on, I'll do it on, okay? Subscribe, help support a young brother on YouTube trying to make it. Anyway, let's get into the video. Anyway, N.W.A, to me, and I've stated this in previous videos, I believe, N.W.A to me is the greatest rap group of all time. And to me, it's not really close, and I don't think everybody will ever surpass them in my mind. Now, granted, N.W.A only released 2 albums, Straight Outta Compton and Niggas for Life. One comp album, N.W.A and the Posse, and then they released an EP, 100 Miles and Running. So their catalog, their discography, whatever you want to say, isn't as big as, the Wu-Tang Clans or Run DMCs or Public Enemy or whoever you want to say. It's the greatest group of all time, even Outkast as a duo. But N.W.A, their influence is, to me, way beyond any of those guys. These guys put on the West Coast and gangsta rap as a whole. Hip-hop before N.W.A was all, conscious rap. You had conscious rappers, political rappers, like Public Enemy or Eric B and Rakim, and occasionally, Run DMC and the Boogie Down Productions, all those guys. Then you had party rappers, rap rock, whatever you want to call it, like the Beastie Boys and LL Cool J and guys like that. N.W.A was the first. They put on the West Coast. They put on for the West Coast and gangster rap scene, in Compton. Of course, as we all know, Ice Cube's from South Central Los Angeles, but the rest of them are from Compton. These guys just introduce a lot of tropes, a lot of things we see in hip hop. One of them being this, I don't know if you guys can tell, but Eazy has on the Raiders hat, Dre's got on the Dodger hat, and MC Ren's got on the LA Kings hat. They're the ones who started wearing, sports apparel in hip hop and out to rep their city, and then everybody in the aftermath started doing that. If you were from New York, you wore a Yankee cap. If you were from Atlanta, you wore a Braves hat or whatever. You see them with the all black, the Raiders jerseys, Raider jackets, Raider hats, Dodger hats, LA Kings, the hockey team in LA, for those you don't know. Kings hats, Lakers, everything. They started putting on for their city. Okay? They released their legendary album, Straight Outta Compton, in 1988, which they had controversial songs at that time. They were the first. They were the reason why, on rap albums today, you have parental advisory, explicit content stickers on it. They're the reasons why. Okay, they're the ones who made that necessary. Cause, they're rapping about violent street shit. Such as they have quote unquote misogynist songs like "A Bitch Is a Bitch" and then "The Dope Man" and "One Less Bitch" and all that stuff, man. To me, Straight Outta Compton is the greatest hip hop movie of all time. Definitely the best hip hop biopic, better than Notorious. And Notorious was a good movie, but better than Notorious, and for damn sure better than All Eyes on Me. But we're not gonna get into that. I don't know what I really can say about them. I mean, you just gotta listen to their music and understand what they did in their short careers together. As a whole unit. Cube left in 1990 or 1989, but you gotta understand what their influence. To put on for the West Coast hip hop scene. After that, the West Coast began its run of dominance in the 90s. Which I'm gonna get to in a minute. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Corrupt Daz and Daz Dillinger, the Dog Pound and Nate Dogg, Warren G. Their G Funk style. G Funk. And it dominated hip hop in the 90s. Dominated New York. Well, dominated New York to a point. A rapper from the Bronx by the name of Tim Dog made a song talking about fuck Compton. The Blood and Crip. Of course, Eazy-E was a Crip. MC Ren, I believe, was a Crip as well. So they brought the Bloods and the Crips into the mainstream national attention. And N.W.A, like I said, they came out in the 80s. The 80s was a wild time, Reaganomics, the AIDS crisis, the crack epidemic, I cover this in the misogyny and hip hop video I did. If you haven't seen that, go on my YouTube channel and watch it. It's a good video. But they're the ones the West Coast rappers, N.W.A and Too Short, along with the down south Miami rappers, the 2 Live Crew, they're the ones who introduced misogyny in hip hop. And the reason being, they grew up in that area. Some of these guys came from single mother homes. Easy didn't, Cube didn't, but came from single mother homes, and they went to school with a lot of girls who came from single mother homes who they don't respect men. They have daddy issues, and they're big hoes and sluts and strawberries. Ice Cube sound dope, man. Strawberry is the neighborhood hoe and shit like that. But in NWA's influence, like I said, even though it was short, it goes a long way. Like, a lot of shit wouldn't exist in hip hop if it wasn't for N.W.A. Eazy-E was basically, to me, Master P for Master P. He was a rapper, even though, of course, we all know Eazy and Dre had ghostwriters. Ice Cube wrote for them. MC Ren, the DOC, also wrote for them. MC Ren and the DOC were the main ones who wrote for them, which is why when they underestimated Cube, they dissed him, and Cube fired back with No Vaseline. And Cube won that shit. He slaughtered them on No Vaseline. But, Eazy was Master P before Master P, a business-minded man from the streets, a hustler. Eazy was selling dope for real. Eazy-E was probably the real gangster of that group, because no disrespect to Cube, even though Ice Cube, I believe, was Blood affiliated. He was affiliated with the Bloods. He wasn't part of it, but he was affiliated with them. And Dr. Dre, let's not even go there. But Eazy was the real gangster of the group. He had the vision. He wanted to own his own record label, Ruthless Records, which he did. All the while getting screwed over by Jerry Heller, the Caucasian Jew, who was screwing them over, and Ice Cube. And Eazy didn't figure that out until the end. Cube figured it out first. Well, really, Arabian Prince, who a lot of people don't know, was part of N.W.A at the beginning, but he ended up leaving because he was the one that figured out Heller was screwing them over. Then Cube figured it out, and then Dre figured it out. And Eazy didn't figure it out till the end. As we saw straight out of Compton, he cut Jerry off, and he went to Cube, and he wanted to reunite N.W.A, which I thought would have been good. Which, honestly, I don't know how N.W.A would have done in the 90s. Their sound was a little more 80s for the 90s, even though they invented this. They had the style. Dre and Yella invented the sound of the 90s, G-Funk. So, I don't know, because that was in 95 before Eazy passed away. So, hip-hop at that time, it was starting to go back to the East Coast. That's at the height of the East Coast, West Coast rap feud. So I don't know how N.W.A would have done in the late 90s, early 2000s, but we'll never know. Of course, Cube is underrated. Ice Cube, to me, is one of the greatest rappers of all time. He's in my top 15, personally. Of course, Dr. Dre is, to me, undisputably the greatest producer of all time. Okay, obviously Eazy with a Compton hat on. N.W.A, the world's most dangerous group. Okay, now this is really what I wanted to get to. This is N.W.A.'s legacy, their impact, and their influence. Obviously after Dre left, Ice Cube left. He dropped, classic albums, legendary albums. America's Most Wanted. He dropped Death Certificate, The Predator, and Lethal Injection. Classic albums, 4 straight classic albums, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. People may disagree, but that's okay. And then Cube went on to do movies, very influential movies. Boys in the Hood is a legendary movie. It was the first real hood ghetto movie, and it was inducted into the National Film Registry in 2006. Obviously that launched the careers of Nia Long and Cuba Gooding Jr. and Morris Chestnut, Ice Cube's acting career, and John Singleton's career as well. Rest in peace, John Singleton. Okay, and then of course we all know Friday. But I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But anyway, obviously Dr. Dre dropped this legendary album, The Chronic, which put on the West Coast, blew up the West Coast sound on a national level. Of course, Nothing But a G Thing, baby. Put on Snoop Dogg, and bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. Now lick on these nuts and suck the dick. All that shit. Dre, this album really started the West Coast run. Okay. Then in 1993, he goes on to release, of course, in 92, he already had Death Row Records with Suge Knight. But 93 goes on to work on this project, 1993's Doggy Style, by rapper Snoop Doggy Dogg. At the time, Snoop Doggy Dogg, now known as Snoop Dogg, obviously. They'll put on Snoop Dogg, Well, Snoop Dogg. Okay, now this is obviously this is Dre, this is MC Ren in the Tim Brown Raiders jersey, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, and Eminem, who looks out of pocket as hell in this picture. Blonde hair, white T-shirt, white as hell. Everybody else wearing black or dark blue. You know, that's another N.W.A. They were the first rappers who, you know, there would be no Ice Cube, and Ice Cube, I believe, said this last year. There would be no rappers like Eminem or stuff like that. And he also said South Park without N.W.A. because N.W.A. were the first rappers that were the first real rappers, you know, that had that kind of counterculture energy with them. You know, we gonna say what we want to say, we gonna do what we want to do. Everybody put their middle fingers high to the sky. You know, N.W.A. introduced that attitude in hip hop, that counterculture attitude. Like I said, hip hop before, you know, it wasn't really like that. It was more, you know, about partying and making social, political, conscious statements. It wasn't really fuck you, counterculture type of shit, you know. But Cube definitely did. But Cube definitely has a point there. Obviously, this is, you know, at the 50 Cent Hollywood Star Walk of Fame ceremony. Hall of Fame ceremony. Of course, Dr. Dre put on 50. Well, really, Eminem put on 50 Cent. Because, you know, Dre didn't want 50, but M did. M got him signed to Aftermath Shady. And he released his legendary album, debut album, Get Rich or Die Trying. With the successful single In the Club and, you know, PIMP and Many Men, Wish Death and all that stuff. Okay, now this is Eazy-E with Bone Thugs and Harmony. Bone Thugs and Harmony is, you know, a horrorcore rap group from Cleveland, Ohio. You know, who got a one-way bus ticket from Cleveland to LA to find Eazy-E and rap for them. And to rap for them, and they got signed. They released their EP, Creeping on the Come Up, with the single Thuggish Ruggish Bone and For the Love of Money featuring Eazy-E. And then the next year in 95, after Eazy passed away, they released their legendary classic album, E Eternal 1999. You know, see you at the crossroads. People forget how dark Bone Thugs used to be. Bone Thugs, you know, they were on some occult devil shit. You know, that's why they got into the beef with 3 6 Mafia. But that's another video for another day. Excuse me. You know, Ouija, are you with me? It's talking about the Ouija board. Okay. Now, back to Dr. Dre for a second. This is The Game, a Compton rapper that Dre wanted to put on. But, you know, the problem with the Dre had with The Game at first was The Game could rap. Now, The Game could rap his ass off. Anybody that's listening to The Game, his career, you know, the documentary, you know, LAX, the Red album, all that. No, his Game got them bars. He got them bars. You know, he honestly, in my opinion, you know, not to get off topic, he did a better job at slaughtering Meek Mill than Drake did. And Drake got that nigga good on back-to-back. But Game's pest control is just more enjoyable for me to listen to. So Game could rap, but Game couldn't make songs. It's one thing to rap, but can you make a catchy song, you know, with a catchy hook? You know, that's what Dr. Dre got frustrated with by The Game. So that's why he put Game in G Unit with 50. You know, they had their falling out. He helped Game write his album, the documentary, you know, hit single, This Is How We Do, you know, and yeah, they had their falling out. Okay. Now, this is probably the part y'all wanted me to get to, Friday. This is a cult classic film, a legendary film, released in 1995, you know, directed by, produced and written by Ice Cube and I believe F. Gary Gray, I believe him, you know. This film has become, like I said, it's a cult classic, a cultural phenomenon. Everybody can quote one thing from this movie, you know. Damn, you know. Of course, it put on Chris Tucker and John Witherspoon, rest in peace, you know, even though he was already well known at the time. Regina King, she was well known at the time. I forget who played the mom. Forget her. And of course, Tommy Tiny Lister Jr., a.k.a. Debo, and A.J. Johnson, and all these who played Crackhead Ezel. You know, everybody could quote one thing with this movie. Okay, and this is really the entire legacy of N.W.A. The entire West Coast rap scene. Look at this guy. You see N.W.A. in the corner there. You see Snoop Dogg right above them. You see Lady of Rage, who was signed to Death Row Records, who played Baby D in Next Friday, by the way, for you who don't know. You see Kendrick Lamar and MC Hammer and all these guys, man. This is really their legacy. They put on for the West Coast, and West Coast hip hop wouldn't have been what it was in the '90s without Dre, without N.W.A. And of course, other guys like just Too Short and all of them. But all this gangster shit, all this gangster rap shit, even things like trap music, that can be traced back to N.W.A. Because trap music talks about selling dope, being a thug and being a gangster. That goes back to the West Coast. Gucci Mane. I saw him in an interview on Everyday Struggle, with DJ Academics and all them. Shout out Eazy-E. You show love to Eazy-E. And N.W.A. and all those guys, man. And of course, here's Death Row, Suge Knight, Tupac, Snoop. You know what I'm saying? Of course, after Pac got out of jail, signed to Death Row, and then released his legendary classic double album, All Eyes on Me. The first double album in the history of hip-hop, with the legendary song California Love. California Love. Song catchy as hell, boy. Of course, featuring Dr. Dre. And here are more West Coast rappers, throwing the West Side hand sign. A lot of them wearing blue, so, a lot of them are Crip related. That's another thing. The Blood and the Crips, that became a national thing when the West Coast blew up. Because, like I said, you had Eazy-E, who was a Crip, and of course, the Games of Blood, and all that shit. Snoop's a Crip. Snoop was a Crip, and all this shit, man. Now that's the Blood and the Crips are everywhere. They're in New York, and they got the GDs and the VLs in Chicago, the Gangster Disciples and the Vice Lords, for those who don't know. Got them in Atlanta. You got Bloods and Crips in Houston and Dallas and New Orleans and Miami. A lot of niggas, niggas just straight up stole the West Coast hip hop culture, LA's hip hop culture. LA, South LA, Compton, Long Beach, Inglewood always up to no good. The West Side Connection, Mac 10. Inglewood always up to no good. Yeah, so N.W.A. man, they excuse me for stuttering. They put on gangster rap, put on for the West Coast, made gangster rap national, mainstream. Well, not really. Well, they put on gangster rap. They helped the West Coast rise up and take over hip hop. Think about this: no N.W.A., no Snoop Dogg, no Bone Thugs, no Eminem, no 50 Cent, no Game, no Kendrick Lamar, no Friday, no Boys in the Hood, Higher Learning, Players Club, all that shit, all those movies Cube did. A lot of shit wouldn't exist today if it weren't for N.W.A., man. So that's why I believe they are the greatest group of all time. I will be doing videos on other guys. You want to see the Wu-Tang Clan or Run DMC or Public Enemy or whoever, 3-6 Mafia, Bone Thugs. If you feel they're the greatest group of all time, comment down below, man. Like the video, subscribe, and I will get on that video, man. But anyway, thank y'all for watching this video. Help a young brother subscribe, like the video, tell everybody about it. Tell your friends about my channel and what I talk about here, man. So, see y'all.